Hello, Captain Rabbit. Want to relate another story, Shrimpy story. I kind of want to explain like the Lady Jean. I'm still talking about the Lady Jean. That was the 1982. Uh, it was an ice boat, so those boats were limited. Sometimes you were pushing it would be 28 days. That's pushing it. Really, you're supposed to make maybe 24 days or 20 days back then. But it all depends on how you treat your shrimp. You gotta know how to, on an ice boat, you gotta know how to ice them down right. It's gotta be dipped right, and where it'll put out the days. You can hold it on ice 3 to 4 weeks. But that's doing it right, because if you don't, by the time you go in and go unload, you're gonna have a lot of shrimp that's got black spots on it, and a lot of people start complaining about it. So, but anyway, so I wanted to mention that about the working on ice boats. I want to talk another story when we were up to the east. It was Tony, Cuyo dog, Big Tony, what they call him. He worked with me for a long time. That guy was a good guy on the boat. But anyway, we were way up east, and we're up there on the home base, at 67, 6800 line, and sometimes you drag it, go across that pipeline, and you can get into that 71, 7200 line, dragging one way. And that's where we're at, and we were clocking, uh, and we were picking up. But anyway, that time was, I think we were catching maybe 3 to 4 box drags, 8 to 9 hour drags or something like that, a little longer drags that we were making. It was big shrimp all the time. It was 15, 20s, and if you move off a little further out there, uh, you start getting those 912s, like U10s and stuff like that, them big old jumbos. But that time we were doing pretty good, and I had put Tony on the wheel. I had put Tony on the wheel after 1 o'clock. We pick up. We always that's pretty much the routine on the boat. Working nighttime, uh, you pick up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and by the time the guys we clear the deck. Uh, so you go. I will go back to bed about 2:30, something like that, close to 3 o'clock in the morning, and sleep until 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning to pick up. But anyway, that time I was in bed, and all of a sudden I started hearing a lot of uh, horns, a lot of beeping, a lot of horns. You know those big horns those ships use, and then a lot of spotlights coming around. It was coming in through the window in my room. So I got up and went to go check. And Tony was up there, and I told him, "What's going on, Tony?" He goes, "I don't know. All these boats coming around shining the spotlight and all this. And I said, "Well, let's pick up, man. See what's going on." And so we started picking up. And sure enough, when we picked up those rigs, there was a big old seismograph cable across the rigs from one rig to the other rig. Uh, and I guess those guys were pretty upset with us, because you don't want to mess up their equipment. That's supposed to be pretty expensive equipment there, a seismograph cable. But and they usually tow a buoy behind that cable, and they don't want to lose that buoy because it'll cost them some money. But
Oh, I'd be a
those
nervous wreck if
those
my daughter just got her
those
license.
guys
You know,
were
Liberty Mutual actually helped me.
trying to stop me or signal me, and we just hung up those nets, and I dropped those damn rigs in the water with the nets hung up, and it dropped that cable right in the water, man. So I don't know if they lost any part of it or whatever, but we moved off. Once we dropped the cable, we moved off, and picked up and dumped those bags and got ready to put right back over and kept on dragging. Went further east. We went further east, and there was one time that at that time I'd go a little further south and holding that line, and I was the next day, I guess, in the daytime. I had picked up and put back over in daytime, and I was making an inshore swing, and I was getting too close to a damn hang, which I did. I hit it. I hit a hang there, man, and I tore up a net and busted a tickler chain. But we got hung up on some coral, man. Some real beautiful coral, man. All colors, all different colors of that coral. They were hanging off the net when we got them up and hung up that one side. And there was a bunch of that coral hanging off those nets. So that was pretty neat. I like seeing that kind of stuff. And in that same area, I think it was another different day, night that we were out, and we had moved the inshore just a little bit there, and that next day in the morning, man, we got a big old lobster. Those pointy lobsters. It was a big one, man. It was I mean, that sucker had a big old head on it, and I saved it. I brought it in, and I took it to a thermos guy that fix those things up where you can put it on a board. And I don't know what happened. That guy had it there. He put. It took him a long time, but one time I went back in to go check on it, and the owners of that place were gone. They had moved out, taken everything. So I missed out on that fucking lobster right there, man. But anyway, I wanted to share those stories there about how we shrimping and the kind of activity we had out there, bucking that rough seas and stuff like that. Well, it's part of life there when you're a shrimper. But I wanted to relate about this the Lady Jean, because I want to start making videos of the Gulf King. I think in Gulf King 83 is when I started working with Gulf King, and I'm believing that I started Gulf King 83. It was a big boat. I think it was a company that had a bunch of boats, and something went wrong with them. The company went bankruptcy, and they auctioned those boats, and Gulf King bought those boats, and that was one of them there. It was an airport. Some company from the airport or something had invested in those shrimpers, and I don't know what the hell happened, but anyway, that's how they got those boats. And that Gulf King 83, I don't have no pictures of it, but there's a couple of incidents that happened on that one. One time we were on that Gulf King 83, and we were offshore, and there was hurricane time season, and we were way up to the east of 7300 line or 7400 line down the inshore, about 25, 26 fathoms, and we were clocking and catching some shrimp, man. And the damn hurricane was coming. 1983. Y'all remember that one? Hurricane Allen, I believe, ain't it? Or Alice? Hurricane Alice? Walking 83. But anyway, I didn't want to go in. And I was holding off, and it was getting rough, man. And everybody around us was telling us, we're going to have to go, because there was a bunch of us still working, clocking. And we finally took off. And it was rough, man. We were already taking about 17, 18-foot seas running across. So we had to go into Galveston because we were way up to the east. So we went into Galveston. We went and tied up at the banana docks in Galveston. In the back, there was, I think it was 3 or 4 of them that went in there. They're tied together. Beside me, there was 2 or 3 boats side by side, and we put a bunch of ropes and all kind of stuff. And as soon as we got Galveston tied up and all that. About 5 hours later, the eye of that hurricane was right on top of us. It came straight to Galveston. But I'm not sure what kind of winds that thing had. I think it was 130 or 120-mile winds, something like that. But it blew out a few things. There was a lot of debris out there on those streets when we after the wind blew over. You know, the hurricane went by, and the next day we go out there, go check it out, go see the damage and a bunch of aluminum buildings and a lot of shit flying all over. And we were walking down the street, and down the street in Galveston there used to be a beer joint there in the corner, and well, that thing got blown out, and there was a bunch of beer all over on the street. So it was a couple of these guys. At that time, it was my brother Peter, Little Roy, and who was with me? I think it was Roland Hernandez. I mean Rivera, Roland Rivera. That was with us, and we went and got some baskets of shrimp and went over there and filled it up with beer. So we were having a little powwow with that beer there for free. There's all that stuff that was laying around, the debris of that hurricane. But anyway, that's going to be the first story I'm going to start about Gulf King 83. And I want to put a picture of my brother-in-law Tony, Cuyo Dog. And because I really respect that guy. He worked with me for a lot of years, man. I would say maybe 7, 8 years straight. And we worked two-handed, a lot of rough weather, and we would never complain. We would get it on, man. Make some trips, good trips. But hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Okay.